Hi there guys, it's Joey. So this is a new spell set for the store and this is a request. This is the Honouring the Goddess Freya set. So Freya is a goddess from the Norse mythology, and it meant me going back and rereading some of the myths because it had been a little while since I'd read some of the Nordic myths, and picking up on how I felt I wanted this particular set to be embodied. Right from the get-go I knew what colours I wanted, and I sort of went through and read some of the myth and lined that up with the mythos to make sure that my intuition was correct, which it was. We were fine. And I actually had quite a strong message come through at the end and in the middle of the set, which I will go through. So Honouring the Goddess Freya set is for a goddess of love, beauty, sensuality, gold, magic, war and death. And she crosses over energies and realms that are very similar to goddesses from the Celtic pantheon, because it matches up a sensuality, a sexuality, a life force with a death and war energy, and obviously this is something that I'm very familiar with. The set itself had to look beautiful. It had to have a visual stunning side with a strength to back it up, and that is the energy of Freya. She is described as being beautiful, but she's also wily and she's also warlike, and she also pits gods against each other at one point. The myth about the necklace, now I'll try and pronounce this the best I can, so you have to forgive me. I think it's Brysingamen? I think it's Brysingamen. Known as the flaming or glowing necklace, which was made by 4 dwarves and gleamed like a constellation at night, and the goddess Freya desires it above all else and offers them great riches, which they refuse, and they only offer to give her the necklace if she spends the night with each of them in order to attain the necklace, which she does. And Odin is not best pleased, and through a whole lot of series of events involving Loki and Odin taking the necklace and Loki turning into a fly to get into into Freya's abode in order to steal the necklace. And then she goes and she shouts at Odin, and it basically leads to a battle between Loki and Heimdall as shape-shifted seals. And there's a whole lot of imagery and symbolism going on, which would take an age for me to go through and discuss in depth, and I don't want to do it too much in a video about products where we're supposed to be talking about the products themselves. But basically it shows that she's a goddess of war, and she's perfectly capable of pitting gods against one another if that is her desire, and she's perfectly willing to use her sexuality for power if she so desires to do so. She's known as a goddess and or a Valkyrie. Some ascribe her as a Valkyrie, some ascribe her as a goddess, and some ascribe her as both. And leading the souls to the afterlife, and she shares souls with Odin and Valhalla, so she takes her pick, and it's said that she takes her pick first of souls that she wishes to take into her realm in the afterlife. And the phrase that I really liked to describe her was this one: having white arms that light up the darkness of the underworld. And that white arms and that light in the darkness and that beauty and that balance of beauty within death and sensuality and sexuality as a weapon, and having this line of femininity and death goddess energy, is something which I am well acquainted with. And it felt like home in a different land, if that makes sense. So when I was meditating and visualising and feeling out how I wanted this set to go, I knew I wanted gold, and you all wanted red, and then you all wanted white. Now, in your general correspondences, you don't see white given as necessarily. So when I came across the white arms of in the Underworld quote, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I'm not tripping. And I knew I wanted gold. Gold had to be in it. Gold flows throughout the mythos. She's described as having gold hair. The necklace is described as being glowing and golden and flaming. And there's a regality to it, an authority to it, a alchemy to it. And basically I knew that gold had to be present. There had to be a warmth and a light flowing through this particular set. There was definitely an energy of her being flaming and glowing herself, of bringing light, if you like, into the dark places. And when I was meditating, I got this line came through, and it was incredibly strong, incredibly potent, and in the forefront of the meditation. And I was just letting the meditation flow and getting my images and my energies as usual, and it was like this, and I was told this. When did beauty become weakness or frailty? If you grip the rose too tightly, it will cut you. You will bleed. So I had this said to me in meditation yesterday when I was making the set. And when I went to Tesco yesterday, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, Joey got a paper cut, a very deep paper cut, and Joey had off a bottle of raspberry lemonade, and I just picked it up, and the label paper cut me, and it bled and bled and bled, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I actually dedicated, I was like, Mama Morrigan, my blood is your blood. And I was like, but how weird is it that that's what was said to me in this meditation, and then, you know, if you grab something too tightly, it will cut you. And I was like, I don't think I've ever had that happen to me with like a goddess outside of my own mother. So there's a very strong lesson in there. So once again, when did beauty become weakness or frailty? If you grip the rose too tightly, it will cut you. You will bleed. Freya. Right, so let's have a close-up look at on the particular items in question. I did find the little stand for the orb, you will notice. Delights of unpacking. I remember where I put it. That's been my mantra for the last week and a half. Right, this is a bit glary on my camera. I'm hoping the rendering process will take that glare off. I can never tell when it's very bright on the camera, but we will move it around. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see there is a two-tonal gold in the wax. So there's almost like a sunlight effect going on here and here. I hope you'll be able to see that on camera. And your reds are very, very prominent, and there is a deep beauty here, but I wanted to make sure that even amidst the beauty of these items, which I think they are, personally, I think they're very beautiful, that there was a strength, a sovereignty almost, not a rigidity, but a backbone, a bit of bite, if you will, because this is a goddess, oh yeah, this is a goddess who is beautiful, but don't let that fool you. And that's exactly what was said, you know, when did beauty become weakness? And it actually had me going through loops. I was sat there going, you know, it's funny how modern culture really does prize what could be considered a frail physical state of being, that, you know, for most women that they're encouraged to starve themselves to supermodel levels, that's killing your insides, that's making yourself frail and weak. And oh my god, there's this message in this meditation. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it really has that, you know, I'm not even going to say duality to it, because it's so multifaceted that it's beautiful, but don't let that fool you. It's got strength and backbone and teeth, and oh, it's just, yeah. I had a time with this set. I bled for this set. Is this going to happen if I make Nordic sets? Am I going to have to bleed for them? So this is the spell oil. Isn't it beautiful? Look at the light. That's light in the underworld. There you go. There is a death energy. I will quickly mention that, which I have not mentioned. With her having an underworld death war aspect, I thought it was very, very important to bring an element of that death magic in. And it's not the overwhelming energy here, but it runs a thread underneath, so it carries and brings all the threads of Freya together to make sure that all of her energies are represented. I think the oil is beautiful. And then we will attempt to do the spell orb. So the spell orb has one of the large charms on, which means it will need hanging up or putting on one of these stands, because it won't just, it'll be top heavy basically, so it'll need hanging up or it'll need putting on a stand now. I'm just going to hold it actually, because then I can show you the insides. So we went with the gold leaf charm. That's the word I'm looking for. Probably stand up if I, no, you're refusing. Give me that. Right. Okay. Good. So we went with the gold leaf for a number of reasons. One, it reminded me of the necklace, having that gold physical symbol of Freya around the neck of, basically around the neck of the spell orb, so like being around the neck of Freya. And also, I initially started off with a different idea, and I actually was going to have one of the rose charms that you can see here on both. Now I like the rose charm on the oil, and it obviously ties into the meditation words that I was told, but it didn't work for the orb, and it just looked wrong. So we went with that, and we went with the gold shimmer ribbon to reflect that gold, that sovereignty, her hair, her mythos, her regality, her alchemy, her power almost, I think. And I went with the leaf because not only does it represent that necklace, but it also represents a life and death element to it, because depending on how you look at the particular leaf, you can see it as a freshly uncurling leaf on an oak tree, or you know, the beginnings of fertility, which she's a goddess that has a very fertile nature to her, a life force to her, or you can see it as a withering leaf, and give it her death element access. And I really liked that sort of duality to the symbolism, so there you go. And there is the inside of the orb. Okay, so I hope you like it. I'm not going to put the orb back in shot because it's argumentative, so we'll just pop those two back in shot for now. I hope you like it, and many blessings.